All right, YouTube. This is Detroit's HPTV. Come to you out of Detroit on this Tuesday afternoon. And we got to talk about it. We got to talk about how the Palestinian protester ICE picked up is trying to deport him. And they want to make it an issue. But if these people are so Palestinian, why don't they just go to Palestine and protest? Why don't they go fight in Palestine? And we got to talk about Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is from Somalia. And she actually went in front of Somalian people and said that as long as she's in Congress, she will protect Somalia in their interests from the American Congress floor. Now, they always are trying to involve the black community in their Arab agenda. But in reality, there is no relationship or unity or cohesiveness between the Arab community and the black community. I'm from Detroit, the largest congregation of Arabs in America. We have no unity, alliance, or bond with them. We don't identify with their interests. We don't like the agenda that they push in our communities. Our only relationship that you will see in the community is them selling us liquor, them selling us blunts, them selling us lottery tickets, our men sweeping their parking lots, and taking the lives of black patrons of their stores. If you look at New Era Detroit has had to close down several Arab stores because they have taken the lives of black Detroiters. But for somehow, in some reason, whenever they have an issue, they want to make it a civil rights issue. They want to involve the black community, when in all actuality, they have zero respect for us as a people. They had zero love for us as a people. They have zero unity with us as a people, even though they used the civil rights movement and our marches and our struggle to get over here, to get their grants, to get their stores, to go to our colleges, so they could protest and turn our country into their country. And won't nobody speak on it. Because see, a lot of black people in the black community in Detroit, we're so disconnected from the Arab community that most of the time, the citizens of Detroit, we don't even know what they got going on. Because there is no unity, there is no cohesiveness, as I've told you. And now, because they have been elevated in the Democratic Party on the squad, they want to act as if all of a sudden there's some type of mutual interest between the black community and Palestinians. There's not. I'm sorry to tell you, the average black person in Detroit, Chicago, anywhere in the Midwest, we do not care about what's going on in Palestine, because nobody in Palestine cares about what's going on the streets of Detroit. That's where we mutually agree. We don't care about what's going on in Palestine, and they don't care about what's going on in Detroit. That's the agreement that we have. But for some reason, they want to involve the black community in their anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-country rhetoric. And nobody wants to call them out for that. Because as an American citizen, how did they even become congressmen? When they have pledged their allegiance to foreign countries. They are foreign nationals and foreign agents working out of our government. And that's acceptable. It's acceptable for them to even call us as Americans stupid. And I guess to elect your enemy to Congress would be considered stupid. To have them protesting about Palestine on our college campuses where we send our children to be educated and not radicalized, that is stupid. But we got to stop the fallacy that there's some type of unity between us. They don't have any respect for us, any love for us. We would not be able to establish any stores in their country. The black people over here that consider themselves Muslims, they don't even have a solid relationship with the Arabs because of their disdain for the black community. So, without further ado, I want you to look at these two clips. The first one I'm gonna play is Ilhan Omar, and I feel that she should be deported and sent back to Somalia, of course. The next one I'm gonna show is Rashida Tlaib, and she definitely should never be able to hold a seat representing the people of Detroit. That makes no sense. So let's get into the clips. This is for fair usage of the 1976 Copyright Act for Education and Commentary. Let's check this out.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of.
See, this is why I say there's a lot of people in this country stupid. She said that America's biggest fear should be white men. This lady comes from Somalia, has already pledged her allegiance to Somalia, and comes and want to create racial division and race hustle here. And nobody says anything. In my community, there isn't even any white liquor stores. Everybody that's selling us malt liquor, blunts, and other paraphernalia is Arab. When you hear that some black person got unalived at a store, you don't think a white man did it. You know an Arab did it. So this pandering and this race baiting is strictly a Democratic ploy to keep their base of victims, oppressed people, LGBTQ plus people, and those people who are disgruntled about American politics. But she is a congresswoman, and she said the biggest threat to America is white people, even though the biggest enemy to America and the whole Christian world is Arabs. And won't nobody call her out on that. Won't nobody push back.
The deaths within this country, we should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
A lot of conservatives. If you're not familiar with who that is congressional member Ilhan Omar.
Wow. Did y'all hear that? Coming from the Somalian, who actually said that from her position in her seat in Washington, D.C., she will protect all of the Somali interests over in her country. But she race-based. Who is that for? Because I'm sure if you're a white man, you have to be offended. Because I'm a black man and I'm offended that this Somalian gets to come over here and call us stupid and talk about this is our country and exploit the traumas and trials and tribulations of what my community has went through in this American experience and embrace it as her own. When in all actuality, why don't she just go back and be a radical in Somalia? You know, I'm from Detroit. Clearly, when they came out and they said, MAGA, make America great again, I was with that because I want to make Detroit great again. But if I hated Detroit, guess what I would do? I would get on a plane and I would leave. So what is this about?
Out of Minnesota. Now, Ilhan Omar is from Somali, right? And she was elected to the Congress in her district in Minnesota. She is one of the most radical far-left extremists in Congress. And she's also a member of what was formerly known as the Squad. Now, the Squad had members like Jamal Bowman, who was the radical Democrat who pulled the fire alarm during the vote last year, who was voted out. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's the far-left extremist congresswoman out of the Bronx. We got Cori Bush, who has been voted out, who was a far-left extremist out of St. Louis, okay? And then we got Jayapal out of Michigan, okay? All of these people are extremely radical, and they act like they hate America. Now, Ilhan Omar in particular, if you don't remember, just a few short years ago, she was one of the main people screaming to defund the police. Matter of fact, real quick, let me help remind you who Ilhan Omar really is. Check this clip out.
I will never co-sign on funding a police department that continues to brutalize us. And I will never stop saying, not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
Yeah, so as you hear, she is a far-left extremist, one of these socialists who wanted to defund the police, just let unrest tear up our cities, tear up our country, because in their weird left-wing utopian brain, somehow they feel that if we destroy America, destroy the Constitution, there's going to be this type of immaculate place where all the left-wing radicals will rule and all the minions will do the labor and all the hard work. Do you hear how they speak about the illegal immigrants picking crops and serving food? But that's not the point of this video. In this video, I'm going to show you clips where Ilhan Omar has been called to be deported. Congressman Brandon Gill stated how much better America would be if Ilhan Omar was deported. And she has some choice words for him. But before I go there, let me show you more of who Ilhan Omar is, because she was also tagged, and I mean brutalized, for her anti-Semitism. She is a Muslim, and she can't stand Jewish people and would take every chance she could to jab at them. But one time she went too far. She went so far that Nancy Pelosi and the other leadership in the Democrat Party had to take her to task, to the point that not only did she have to publicly apologize, they literally had to write up rules for some of these radical left-wing extremists, because they just can't control themselves when they got in front of the camera. And it was making the Democrat Party look bad and alienating the Jewish constituents and the Jewish donors. Because let's not get it twisted. Majority of the Democrat Party's high-level, big-money donors, they are Jewish. So it's crazy when members of the Democrat Party have this anti-Semitic stance, and it's hurting their own base, and it's splitting their party and tearing their party apart. But now, let's check out this clip on when she let her anti-Semitism just ooze over. Check this clip out.
Are you getting less than $2,500 in Social Security and you're a senior on Medicare or Medicaid?
So Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is apologizing for tweets that many are calling anti-Semitic.
The apology comes after backlash on social media and from members of her own party, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Danny Spiewak is here to take us through what happened. Danny?
Well, Julie, this all started last night when Representative Omar started tweeting from her personal account. Let's show you those original tweets from last night. In a quote tweet, Omar wrote, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby," an apparent reference to money. She was quoting a tweet from a journalist, Glenn Greenwald, who was criticizing Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy for considering punishment against Omar for her criticism of Israel. An hour later, after a critic asked Omar to explain who's paying politicians to support Israel, Omar wrote AIPAC. That's short for the lobbying group, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. That led to a backlash from some in both parties, as well as some Jewish groups. Many pointed out that the language about Jewish money controlling politics is painful and plays into anti-Semitic stereotypes about Jewish control of foreign affairs. Speaker Pelosi said she spoke with Congresswoman Omar and she agreed to reject anti-Semitism in all forms. Omar then apologized this afternoon, saying, quote, "Anti-Semitism is real, and I am grateful for Jewish allies and colleagues who are educating me on the painful history of anti-Semitic tropes. My intention is never to offend my constituents or Jewish Americans as a whole." But she did say that she reaffirmed the, quote, "problematic role of lobbyists in our politics," and said that we must be willing to address that. And in a text message just about a half hour ago, Omar told our Janice Shortle that she did not realize the trope she trafficked and is deeply sorry. Back to you.
If you're enjoying the video, do me a solid. Hit that like button. I'll never ask you for a cash app. I'll never ask you for a super chat. But you hitting that like button, that is currency because it helps spread the video around. And if you aren't already subscribed, subscribe to the Real Politics Podcast because here, that's what we do. We talk real politics. And once you hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell and then select all. That way, you'll be notified when I upload new videos. So let me get this straight. President Trump, who has never been on record saying anything racist against black or brown people or against anybody, but yet he's labeled a racist. But these Democrats, these left-wing extremists, they get a chance to say everything under the book. Joe Biden can tell black people they ain't black if they don't vote for him. Ilhan Omar can make all types of anti-Semitic statements, and it's all good. The whole Democrat platform can talk about how illegals are coming here to pick fruit and serve food and wash cars and clean dishes. And that's perfectly fine. And then when they're called out for their BS, they always play the deer in the headlights, which, oh, I didn't mean that. I couldn't possibly ever. No, not us with the party of love. But every time you look around, they're canceling, they're hating somebody. Have you paid attention that the violent, the domestic terrorists in this country, they're not MAGA, they're not Republicans, they're Democrats. But the left-wing media wants to keep saying, oh, it's MAGA. Oh, people that have been to MAGA rallies wearing full-fledged Biden or Harris Walsh gear were welcomed with open arms and were shown how, hey, listen, you could differ of opinion. Come on over here and let us show you why you should check this out. People have gone to a Democrat rally, not even wearing a Trump shirt, just asking basic questions that they never answer. And the TDS kicks in. Somebody just say, well, at what point is a life form? Does a baby have life in a woman's stomach? Somebody went and asked that at a Democrat event. They went crazy and a woman spit in the man's face, and he was genuinely trying to ask. He wasn't MAGA. He would just want to know. But that party is a radical extremist and of hatred. But the question is Ilhan Omar a plant? And you may wonder why I asked, is she a plant? And I'm going to bring you in on a story that many people don't know. Check this out here. A lot of folks don't know, but they do now, that Ilhan Omar, the way that she was able to get her brother into this country and for them to be able to take advantage of citizenship, Congresswoman Omar married her brother to make it legal for him to be in this country. Check out this article from Times of India. Ilhan Omar reacts to news claiming to confirm that she married her brother. An old rumor that Rep. Ilhan Omar married her brother and committed immigration fraud resurfaced as a report claimed it is not anymore a rumor, that a personal friend has now confirmed on record that she indeed married her brother. According to the UK Daily Mail, sources confirmed that Omar told her friends that her second husband was actually her brother and that the marriage was a scam to get him immigration papers. One of these friends told the newspaper that when this apparent marriage happened, it was considered a major scandal in Minneapolis Somali community. At that time, the Democrat leader was not a political figure. So we got somebody in Congress that hates America, that married her brother in violation of federal immigration laws. that's spewing out all types of racism, whether it be against white men, whether it be against Jews. And the one thing about the Democrat Party,
although I'm reacting to his video, I'm not sure about the situation about if she actually married her brother. So I'm just going to say that's allegedly. But everything else that he's saying is pretty much on point.
all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Just because she's Somali and I'm a black man does not mean that she supports the black community. You see, what the Democrat Party is, I call it the victimhood coalition. It's whatever groups of people feels like they're the biggest victim, they just welcome them in. That's why you always hear the Democrats say, we've got a big tent. Because no matter what, if you feel like you're a victim as trans, come on. Feel like you're a victim as LGBTQ, come on. You feel like you're a victim as a minority, come on. You feel like you're a victim as a woman, come on. You feel like you're a weird, low testosterone beta male, and you feel like a victim, come on. They welcome them all in. And here's the problem. The great thing for the Republicans is that the only thing these folks have in common is they all say, orange man bad. And they all work together to fight from keeping the orange man out of the White House. But guess what? Thanks to people like you and all the millions of others, patriots, went out there and made the voices heard and spoke for the American people on November the 5th. And the orange man is back in the White House.
I'm going to stop right here because I want you to see Talita Rashid.
Are you guys sick and tired of trying to put your hand into your supplement bottle to try and find the scooper?
Ultimately, those who are failing to vote to censure Rashida Tlaib.
And the reason that I'm really making this video is I want to dispel the myth that there is any type of unity between the black community and the Arab community. We do not work together. We do not socialize. We do not share the same views. We don't go to the same parties. We don't like the same movies. We don't like the same people. In our communities, they don't respect us. They unalive us more than any other ethnic group in our communities. Did you hear that? If you Google Detroit news, see how many times you can see where an Arab has unalived some black citizen in Detroit over a $2 Twinkie at a gas station, over a bag of chips at the liquor store. When you ride past, look who's out sweeping around their dumpsters, getting up their trash. Look how they always keep a sister working at the lottery store in the community, behind the lotteries that they can rub up against and bump into all day long while they talk reckless and crazy to you. This is the reality of it. And Talita Rashid, she should never be voted in again to represent the people of Detroit. Now check out this on her.
Ultimately, those who are failing to vote to censure Rashida Tlaib, they can call it free speech if they want to, but what they're really doing, what they're actually really doing here, is they are simply tickling that insatiable urge to attack the Jews.
Now to Capitol Hill, where this week House Republicans and a few Democrats censured Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib for anti-Semitic comments. Ms. Tlaib, who is the only Palestinian American in Congress, had expressed support for the slogan, "From the river to the sea," which is widely understood to be a rallying cry for the death of Israel. But despite the censure, Ms. Tlaib still has strong support from liberals and those who say free speech, however offensive, should not be punished. We're joined now by Josh Hammer, senior editor at large for Newsweek. Josh, thanks for joining us once again here on Centerpoint.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So like I just mentioned, she still received tons of liberal support on the House floor. Why do you believe there is still a strong sentiment of anti-Israel in Congress?
So the left started to turn against Israel going as far back as the 1967 war, the Six-Day War, where Israel had a miraculous victory. It was a defensive war. They were invading Arab armies on all sides. And the fact that Israel won what was essentially a second independence war only 19 years after the founding of the state in 1948, That was what I think got leftists starting to think of Israel as the Goliath and the Arab countries around it, including the Palestinians, as the David in the region. Then you kind of throw into the mix this whole critical race theory, intersectionality, toxic mentality whereby the Jewish state is the colonizer, the imperialist. They are the quote unquote white people in the region. First of all, I mean, it's nonsensical on its face. I mean, I can tell you as someone who is engaged to an Israeli woman who really does not look particularly white. In fact,
And I'm showing you him to show you what I mean when I say how these Arabs and these foreigners, they come to America and they co-opt the black struggle. They co-opt our civil rights. They co-opt our struggle to maintain power in our own communities. And they usurp the authority and direct their energies and funds toward agendas that they push under the guise of we are all some type of united colored people. First of all, black people don't consider themselves people of color. That's what the left uses so that they can incorporate all these different people from Somalia and Palestine and Venezuela, and they call them people of color, to attach them to black people and our rights under the 14th Amendment. Then they not only attach them to our rights under the 14th Amendment, they give them preference and benefits over us so that they have a leg up on our communities, pushing us as a community further to the bottom. And nobody speaks about that aspect of reality. They want black people to adopt their struggle against Jewish people and white people for them, while they are more discriminatory against us than Jewish people and white people. You have a better chance getting a fair shake from Jewish people or white people than you will ever have from an Arab.
the majority of Israeli Jews actually are from Arab countries. They look a lot like Arabs. They're fairly darker. None of it makes sense, but it is just this disgusting, warped identity politics centric mentality that the far left has. And unfortunately, anti-Israelism, anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism is one of the world's last politically correct, indeed politically fashionable forms of bigotry. It is rampant on the political left there. And I think ultimately those who are failing to vote to censure Rashida Tlaib, they can call it free speech if they want to, but what they're really doing, what they're actually really doing here is they are simply tickling that insatiable urge to attack the Jews.
Will this do anything to her as far as continuing to use that? Because she's used that phrase before. In fact, in 2019, Israel barred her from entering the country. So what will this do going forward? Because this war continues.
So it's obviously not the first time that Rashida Tlaib has used this kind of rhetoric. In fact, back in 2019 as well, she infamously referred to the Holocaust. She said that it gave her a calming sensation to think about the fact that 6 million Jews were tragically murdered by the Nazi regime. So she has gone down this road before. It's a really disgusting road. You know, from the river to the sea, Palestine.
I'm going to end on that note because we're going into the 30-minute mark, but I want to make it clear why the black community should never allow themselves to be co-opted by an Arab agenda. Because they step out there and you don't say nothing, so it almost seems that you're in agreement with this Arab agenda, with their war in Palestine and Gaza and Somalia, when those people have no respect for the black community. The first thing they do when they get to our country and get a leg up is disrespect us. They have no love for us. They use us as cannon fodder, political cannon fodder, to act as if we are in unity with the anti-Israel, anti-white man, anti-everybody but Arabs agenda. Think about that. Arabs consider Christians infidels. Yeah, they consider you infidels. And they consider black people as savages in particular. So you could say that, oh, but I'm okay, I'll say it. Allegedly. Like I haven't lived in Detroit 59 years. But you got to say things because at this point my channel is shadow banned. They don't send out notifications and they take away subscribers. They do the whole nine. And I just say the simple, plain things that everybody else sees and knows. There's nobody from Detroit that you can show this video to that won't say, oh, yeah, he right. We don't socialize with them. We don't identify with them. But somehow, somebody always finds a way to put these people from other countries, foreign nationals and foreign agents, in positions of authority, and they start making decisions about what goes on in our community. And that should be stopped. Period. That's all I got for you this Tuesday afternoon. This is Detroit's HPT coming out of Detroit. As always, salute to all patriots, like, share, and subscribe, and keep your head on a swivel. Peace.